What is up? Welcome to a show that we call Glitch TV. This is episode number 1, numero uno, the very beginning of a weekly show all about cord cutting. If you're watching the show, you're most likely a cord cutter, you're an early adopter, you are a trendsetter. And now you've been with us since the very beginning, and for that we thank you. So let's go ahead and do this. I am Patrick Dees, I am one of your hosts. I am joined by one of my favorite people on the internet and IRL, Miss Kate Elliott's with us. Kate, what are we doing? Why are we here? Why are we, what is Glitch TV?
So we are of the generation now where most of our television consumption comes off the internet and not television anymore. I even have friends that don't own a television, and most everyone I know isn't subscribed to cable. It's crazy. But there is so much content that we get to consume from the internet, so much TV, so many movies, that we're going to try and work our way through it on all kinds of platforms, from Netflix to Crackle, tell you the good, the bad, the ugly, and start a conversation with you about just that.
Because there's so much of all of it.
So
there's
much.
This dearth of content out there. There's plenty good, there's plenty bad, there's plenty ugly. And I think we're going to talk through a couple of series that actually had not been on my radar at all. I didn't know that it even existed. And what I'm incredibly excited about in this space is a space where all of these studios are normally really risk adverse. They create this content, these intellectual properties that have to appeal to so many people. They can take these risks. So I think this is really the bleeding edge of interesting television. Or insane television or otherwise. So I think there's something out there for everybody. And so we're going to be here every week bringing that to you, discussing the things that we love, things that we don't love. We're going to be discussing it with you. And let's jump right in. Let's see what we're going to be kicking around this week.
Let's do it.
This week, I'm incredibly excited to talk about a superhero that needs no introduction, but we're going to anyway. We're talking about Netflix's Daredevil. I've seen the whole series, the whole season. I couldn't help myself. I totally binged. You've seen episode 1.
I've seen episode 1 and part of episode 2 while I was at a cafe,
So all I can say is, spoilers, it continues to rock. But we're going to talk about, let's watch the trailer, and then let's talk all about episode 1.
Bless me, Father, for I've sinned. It's been too long since my last confession. I've been preoccupied of late with questions of morality. Of right and wrong. Good and evil.
We don't say his name.
Perhaps this would be easier if you tell me what you've done.
How did it happen?
It was something.
You think this is still about you?
I'm not seeking forgiveness for what I've done, Father. I'm asking forgiveness for what I'm about to do. I'm just trying to make my city a better place.
Okay, so we just saw the trailer. How good is that? This is one of those things that I'm not very high on Marvel. I've talked a little bit about camera just a minute ago. I'm not much of a comic book guy. I really dug the first Avengers. I am in a small minority here, but I'll go on a limb in saying I was incredibly disappointed by the second one.
No, I loved it. I feel like I'm the only person in the world that loved it.
No. I think there was. I think the box office disagrees. I think people came out in droves to see that, and there were elements of it that I really loved. Why I'm excited to do this show, and why I'm excited to talk about Daredevil is this is a space where studios can be free to take risks. So many studios are so risk adverse these days. They create these shows that have to be they have to appeal universally, right? And I feel like Daredevil was them saying, hey, let's take a darker tone, but a really smart darker tone. Let's not be dark for dark's sake. We talked about powers in another episode, and I don't know. It's similar, right? There's that dark element to it, but this show was just really. It did some incredibly smart things. It did them in episode 1, and we'll talk about them through the entire season. But I am impossibly excited to talk about what worked And it all worked. So I was going to say
Yeah.
what worked and didn't work, but I mean, it just worked.
It's amazing.
The show right at present is the highest rated user show on Netflix right now. It is higher than Breaking Bad.
That's insane.
And I'm not making an argument that it's a
That's
better
so
show
crazy.
than Breaking Bad. But
Those are the facts. This is where it's sitting with audience right now.
But if you told me like 3 years ago that there would be a Daredevil show that's on Netflix that I would be this enthusiastic to talk about, I would have called you crazy.
Right. And it's so good. All I've heard from everyone I talk to is that this show is so good. And the first exposure I had to it of actually visually seeing it, I was at a cafe at like 2 a.m. having pancakes, and they were showing this one fight scene, which comes in episode 2, so I won't go into it, but it's a single shot, and it's so incredible. Just the fighting got me so hooked. The choreography, hard word, is just out of this world. Out of this world.
I know the choreography on you saying it was good, by the way. You leaned into it, you nailed it. Well, so you want to set the tone, so set the stage.
Okay,
What is
so
Daredevil?
anyone who doesn't know what Daredevil is, this is the synopsis. As a child, Matt Murdock was blinded by a chemical spill in a freak accident. And instead of limiting him, it gave him superhuman senses that enabled him to see the world in a unique and powerful way. Now he uses these powers to deliver justice, not only as a lawyer in his own law firm, but as a vigilante at night, stalking the streets of Hell's Kitchen as Daredevil, the man without fear.
Oh.
It's so good. It's so good. I saw the movie when it came out. Ben Affleck, Jennifer Garner, loved it. Also loved the spin-off.
I'm sorry,
Electra.
loved it?
I feel
I'm sorry,
like
I
I'm
missed
the
that.
only.
Did you say that you loved it?
I loved it. I'm the only person again in the world that
one more
loved
time.
it.
You loved it.
I loved it. I've watched it many times.
Okay, so
but this
for people
this
at
is
home, you
better.
can take opinions from this side of the room, and she'll just no. I'm just kidding.
I feel like this version is better, and it follows the series so well. I thoroughly enjoy it. I'm very excited about this.
So let's take a step back. Are you a big comic book girl?
I am, actually.
You are. So
I am.
you know, you're familiar with the Daredevil universe.
I'm not by any means
Okay.
an expert, but I am involved in it. I would say a little bit more than you are. So I don't know.
I'm not at all. I know
passionate
nothing
this.
about comics. So like for me, this show was incredibly like it was very accessible. I didn't need any of that, and in fact, it's
That's great. That's great to have a show like that. You can get people that know nothing about the franchise and get totally hooked. That's a good show.
Totally, very accessible, and I think it did something really smart. It twofold. One, it didn't require you to have all of this background, and two, it said even more so. It said, hey, look, we understand that there's a basic superhero literacy right now. We get it. He's a vigilante. He beats the shit out of people at night, and he's a lawyer by day. They didn't do this exposition dump at the beginning of the show. They got you right into it with an understanding that audiences are going to get that, and it treated the audience with a level of respect, like I said, like a social hero literacy that I loved.
It's speaking to the audience as if the audience is intelligent, and there are a lot of shows out there right now that talk to us like we're idiots and we just don't appreciate it. This show is so great. Introduction was so gripping. I have to say the second scene drug my emotions down a bit. It kind of dulled me down, but that first initial scene was so good.
What was
so
the second
gripping.
scene? Refresh
When he
us?
was in confession. He was in confession.
Oh.
He was talking and pausing. It was just I was sitting there and I was like, come on, hurry up. But then the rest of the show is so fast paced that you forget about that and you forgive it.
I will say, again, sneaking ahead a little bit, that scene ends up being incredibly important throughout the series.
Oh, okay, good to know, good to know.
So again, it's just impossibly smart. Like this show continued to surprise me, not only through episode 1, but through the rest of the season when I thought, oh, that's not going to pay off. There's no, like, what are they doing? And then I came back, they tied it all off in a beautiful way. So guys, if you haven't seen, I know we're talking through episode 1. Again, if you haven't seen it, go see it right now.
It will change your life.
But feel free to binge watch. We're going to talk through every single one of these episodes and understand that it is the highest rated show on Netflix for a reason.
For a reason. And there's a lot of fun stuff in there for us nerds who do know about the whole universe and everything. There's a lot of Easter eggs in this show. I spotted a couple of them. There was a reference to the Avengers when the Avengers just teared apart Manhattan, New York. They just made a mess of it, and the Hulk destroyed Harlem. This is all reference, and we do get a Stan Lee cameo. I'm not going to tell you where it is. I wanted to, but I want to see if you can find it because it's sneaky, but he's still in there, and I love it. I love it.
I think and I think that is cool too. I love that it's tied back into the greater Marvel universe, but they do it with a reverence and a consistent tone, right? So they don't it's not a wink and a nudge at the audience. It's very much a, hey, that incident. You remember that terrible thing that just happened to our city a little while ago? Like, there's a humble reverence for this by all accounts, it's just a tragedy, right? And it's what is, and they do this thing too, which I know this sounds ridiculous, but I'm tired of, if you spent any time in Manhattan, you know that all of these shows where these shitty unemployed writer folk have these huge, crazy, apartments and real estate, right? They did this really clever thing in the show where they're both they're struggling and they're establishing their law practice, and they've got this amazing office. And one of the reasons that they're able to afford it is because real estate prices have plummeted in the wake of the event.
And
I kind of love
death
that.
falling from the sky, which was Avengers. And I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed that.
What else did you like about the episode as a whole?
Oh, I have to go back to the fighting choreography. It was so beautiful. I had to look up the guy. So the guy that did the choreography, he also worked, his name is Philip J. Silvera, and he was the stunt coordinator on Thor: The Dark World, Iron Man 2, and The Dark Knight Rises. So he's good. He's been doing these major blockbusters, and now he's working on what is essentially a TV show. So that just really gives it credit as how good this show is and how much effort they put into it. And it's so addictive. It's unbelievable.
I think going back to the fight scene too, I really loved, again, not being a guy who's not familiar with the IP in any sense of the word. I love that Daredevil is not a guy who automatically just destroys fools, right? Yeah. He doesn't just wipe the floor with people. He shows up and this guy literally gets the shit kicked out of him over and over and over. Yeah. And I really liked that. I liked that it doesn't shy away from being violent. It's a show that is incredibly violent. I mean, but not gratuitously so. It's violence it's not violence for violence sake. Really. Totally. You know what? Breaking your leg really sucks. And we're going to show you the practical realities of getting your leg broken in half. And I kind of dug that, right? Like, it doesn't shy away from it, but again, it's not gratuitous.
That's one of the things I love about Daredevil as a character overall, is that he's still very, very human. He is still very human. He's not some uppity superhero who thinks he's the best. He's like, yeah, no, I'm a person and I do good things, but sometimes I lose a tooth. Sometimes I get, smacked to the ground. Sometimes I walk into stuff because I'm blind. He's very human and he's very personable in that respect. And the fact that he is poor and living in a low situation, trying to build himself back up, a lot of us can relate to that. And I feel for Daredevil, I really do. Matt's my man.
Matt's your man?
He's my man.
How did you feel about the casting? So having, a high-level understanding of Matt and Foggy and everybody, how did you think that
I loved it. I thought the casting was flawless. I really, really did. I watched it with a couple of other people and they didn't like the casting so much. But someone like me who has been involved in the Daredevil franchise for a while, I thought it was flawless. I love it. I love the casting.
So talk to me a little bit about this in the comic books. So one of the things that the very small guys, so if I had the level 1 criticism, I really have a hard time, it's immersion breaking when they talk about Hell's Kitchen being the city. Have you been to Hell's Kitchen?
I've not.
It's 2.5 square blocks, right? Okay. You can see the end of Hell's Kitchen. And they're the city of Hell's Kitchen. It's a neighborhood. Ostensibly, it's smaller than most neighborhoods. And I understand New York's incredibly dense, all of those things. Do they talk about Hell's Kitchen in that same context in the comics?
I wouldn't actually know
fair enough.
to that.
I was just curious.
And even if I did, I wouldn't want to spoil it for you. But yeah, my first impression when I was first introduced to Daredevil, because I didn't read the comic books per se, but I was involved in conversations about it, is that I did have the initial impression that Hell's Kitchen was big. That it was a town within the city. And turns out it's not. But that's okay, because this is all fiction, so...
Fair enough. And so, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, I understand, Stan Lee's actually from Hell's Kitchen. So I know that, the Daredevil property is very near and dear to his heart. So, I think that they've really taken their time and realized this property in a way that they haven't with a lot of their other stuff. So, I'm fired up.
I'm sorry.
I'm excited to watch you watch this.
I gotta see it.
I'm excited to watch you watch this. And I'm really excited to discuss it with other people because it's one of those things that I kind of watched it in a vacuum. And I've been pent up, really excited to talk a lot about it. I went on Amazon and rated it right away. Or Netflix. God damn it. I went on Netflix, I rated it right away. No, I did not do that. But I'm possibly excited about this. It's already been picked up for a second season. Different showrunners.
Thank God.
But, yeah, right? And this is tier 1 of a bunch of other Marvel properties that they're rolling out in this space, kind of in this cord-cutting space. So I'm not only excited to see what they do for season 2, but all of these other properties that I don't know anything about. All of the Black Panther and all these other ones that they've been announced post Daredevil success. I'm impossibly excited about this. So anything else you wanted to... So if you were going to ask our viewers, what do you want to know about their experience from Daredevil?
I want to know what your favorite part of it was, because for most of my friends, the fight choreography is just top-notch. Everyone goes on about that. The single shots, the long shots. I really enjoy the coloring of it too. There's a lot of color coding when you have a green scene and a blue scene. It's representative of the emotions. I thought it was incredibly well put together. What is your opinion? What is your favorite aspect of this show? And what is your least favorite? I'm interested to hear that because I so far can't find fault. I am so in love with this show. I really am.
I am too. The palette was great. And I want to know, would you let Matt Murdock represent you in a court of law?
Totally. I'm down. Yeah.
We'll finish out the season. We'll be back with episode 2 in the future. And just like that, we are done with episode 1 of Glitch TV. And man, did that go by fast!
I don't want it to be.
No, I know. I was just starting to get attached. I felt like we were just. So I'm interested. How did this feel for you?
I'm thoroughly enjoying this. I can't wait to be given more homework with more shows to watch because I'm being exposed to some pretty cool content.
There's nothing better than getting an email about, hey, here's the 7 shows you need to watch every week.
Deal.
Fair enough. No, but that's why we're doing it, so you don't have to.
Then you want to.
And then you will, right? Yeah.
It's like hearing it from your best friend. We're telling you as your best friend, this is good, this is bad. You know, there's a piece of fluff there. You know, the way it is.
So join us, exactly. So join us for the shows that we're enjoying. Join us for the shows that we're not. Misery Loves Company. We'll all talk about it together.
And there are multiple ways you can get in contact with us. We have a Glitch In on Facebook and Twitter. Please follow and subscribe. It's very important to us. If you subscribe here, you're always going to get a notification when a new episode is posted, which is always a good idea, so hit that little button. And if you would like to go to the website, it is glitchin.com. Very simple, very easy.
No, and I know it's incredibly cliche, but we want to hear from you. I think this.
We really do.
The show is like, I think the cord cutting community is like our generation. I said it at the beginning. I said it at the top, right? Like we're bleeding edge in technology. We're trendsetters and whatnot. And I think there'd be a lot of. I'd be really interested to hear what you guys want to see. Mm-hmm. If there are other shows that we're missing, like what are you doing? This is the show that's out there, that's on Crackle, that's on one of these other shows that we don't know about. Please let us know. We want to talk about it. I think it's a dynamic show, and we're going to be based around a lot of that feedback. So
we're excited to hear from you. Genuinely, we want to know what you think.
And we're coming back every week.
Yeah, we will be.
So we'll talk to you next week.
We'll see you then.
Every week, and this week we've chosen something special. So guys, it's Patrick from the future and Kate from the future. Whoa! We're arriving literally from 1 week in the future, and past us as we're about to tell you to watch a movie that we don't want you to watch. So what is the movie we're actually going to watch?
We are going to watch...
We're watching it.
I love this movie!
Do you?
I love this movie!
Okay. So your enthusiasm is contagious. So the past me that you guys just saw had never seen Hancock. Future me, this me,